Well, welcome everyone to the Hockey Hub. Sophia and Kasey. I'm at home today because we are going right after this, or shortly after, to the Bruins game at the Garden versus the Carolina Hurricanes. So Kasey and I are definitely going to set you guys up for that. Kasey does a great job with Consider This, all the notes kind of previewing both teams, how they match up. So we're going to get her take on that. But we've also got some pretty important lineup and roster news with the Bruins. We saw some injuries over the weekend, so it's really fresh. So we're going to play some sound from Marco Sturm, what that means. Call-ups as well. We definitely have to talk about this big win over the Montreal Canadiens. That was so fun, Kasey.
It's an exciting game. That
Right?
was actually at the same time that I was multitasking, putting up my Christmas decor, and there was just a lot of chaos on the screen as well as in my house. So
Yeah. Okay. So chaotic, but both. Was it a win-win? Like the Bruins won. Did you have a win-win with your Christmas tree?
it was a win-win. I just totally underestimated, even though one-bedroom apartment, I very much underestimated how much organizing I needed to do to properly have my decor spread out and stuff. So I ended up organizing while the game was going on, and then I'm stopping to tweet because it was fight after fight after fight after fight, and then goal, and then it was wait, I'm tangled in my lights and then the fake tree that you gave me forgiveness on. So it was just a lot going on, but it was fun and it was a win-win. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I wanted to ask you about that, but really quick before I ask you, I'll just tell people the final two things we'll talk about. The Bruins aren't the only ones dealing with injuries. Holy crikey. People are going down, and we'll give our theories on that, but we'll give you updates around the league. Probably condensed schedule related, but we'll get into that later. Really quick, back to the tree, and we'll get to Bruins. So fake tree, but you said you kind of go crazy for Christmas decor. Is that I only do tree? I might do one stocking for, I don't know, effect, because I think I just have one. I don't know if I just have one out of nowhere, but I'm not the fake snow thing, the wreaths, toys and boxes and Santas. That's not me. So what's your deal with Christmas decor?
So if I got you any of that stuff, you would not use it.
No, wait, I like gifts. So
okay.
No, if you got me a small little decoration, I would definitely use it, but I'm not doing, people get Christmas towels, Christmas bedding, Christmas kitchen oven mitts. I'm no. Only the tree. I'm not theming my whole house. Are you doing that?
Okay, so we've got the Christmas doormat. We've got the Christmas runner in the kitchen. We do have the Christmas towels. And then I reset what's on the island. So I've got 2 snow reindeers that are wood. They're thick and heavy wood. And then I change out the plants that are in the centerpiece. So that's going to be fake looking poinsettias, because my mom's obsessed with poinsettias. And then I have a fireplace TV mound. And so I put a lot of garland, the fake snow, and things all over that with lights strung out in between it, because I like to shut down my house at a certain hour, but I like all of the mood lights. So I use the Christmas lights as the mood lights versus everything else. So yeah, I get pretty crazy. Bedding stays the same though.
Okay. No, I actually I love what you painted for me. I will have to come over and see it for myself. Yep. But if I had a fireplace, it would be done too. I just don't have that, so I'm not gonna go out of my way to decorate my windows or anything like that, but any cute Christmas lights, the coziness, yes.
Yep. Everything that gives me winter wonderland feels, which is why I've enjoyed living in the north. So
I think people are going to kill me for saying this, but I really hope you have a snowy New England crazy winter, because and everyone here is going to be don't say that, because we haven't had a lot of snow in the last couple of years. Really, we haven't, for what New England and even Toronto, where I'm from what we normally do. So I really hope you experience a couple of snowstorms and some good times.
I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. And plus I have been told since I got here, especially by Bruins fans, I need to drink iced coffee in the middle of a snowstorm for my full initiation into New England. So I'm ready for it, guys.
Okay, well, I don't know where that came from. I'm just going to let that one go.
I'll show you the tweets. I'll show you the tweets.
Yeah, you do you. Or they do, let them do them. But okay, if we didn't have actual breaking news, because it is rather, I don't know, an hour and a half ago, maybe 2 hours ago. But if we didn't have breaking news, I would definitely stretch this Christmas conversation out. But we got to get to what's going on with the Bruins.
Sprinkle it out through the next couple episodes.
Yeah, we'll trickle it out. I might do my tree on Thursday, so maybe for Friday's episode, I'll have some pictures for you guys. But so you guys saw, obviously, on Saturday, Charlie McAvoy, that was so scary. Took a puck to the face and bled right away. Dustin Stuck came out. He left, did not come back. So let's hear from Marco Sturm about the update on Charlie McAvoy, and we'll talk about who's being called up and what's going on.
Yeah, no, he's with the doctors right now, so there's no timeline. Obviously, he's going to be out tonight, and we'll see how he goes today with his with all his appointments. I don't know. Yeah, again, I'm not in charge, so we have to wait and see.
All right, I've been talking a lot, Kasey. I have my thoughts, but I also got to share them on the post-game show. So your thoughts on all of this and what you saw when you saw, like, scary, very scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, too, where it looks so scary that you didn't exactly want to tweet about it either, because you didn't want to put any sort of context out there that wouldn't line up. But the scariest part being it hitting him directly in the face. And, I mean, some people were telling me that they did a slow-mo of the video and you actually, like, saw a tooth fall out of his mouth. And then on the broadcast, they're sitting there talking about it being, like, an average of, like, a 90 to 100-mile puck to the face. So a lot of things that just kind of immediately instilled fear in all of us. And it's just like, it's not just about the campaign that he's having right now and how well he's playing for this team. It's what his presence is in the locker room. And depending on the extent of the injury, that kind of removes players from being around the team for some time. So it was good to find out that he was able to fly back with the team, that he's meeting with the doctor today being Monday. So hopefully we'll get some answers there. But we know it's going to take a lot to take Charlie McAvoy out of this lineup.
100%. I think the fear was on Saturday. And again, I'm not a doctor. This is just like little things I'm reading. I didn't, a real journalist would have called the doctor and be like, what does this mean? I didn't do that. But but the fear was if he's not flying back, then there's a serious risk of concussion, right? And you can't pressure and air and all that kind of stuff. So he flew back with the team. That's a huge positive. Yeah. The other thing is, and we know Zdeno Chara came back with a broken jaw, his mouth wired shut. Like, that was a crazy in the postseason, trying to win a Stanley Cup. Like, that was an anomaly. That was crazy. That should not be the standard of expectation for coming back. Yeah. So if it is a broken jaw, which would be really scary, you can't really, Chara did it because there were 2 games left in your season and playoffs. You could win the Stanley Cup, Yeah. Exactly. Like, just not, it wasn't round 1. It was the final. That made sense. But for Charlie, especially with the Olympics coming up, broken jaw, like, you're not risking that. So I'm really hoping for his sake it's not that. I hope it's just bruising. We haven't seen him. Maybe his eyes, it was up here. It looked like it bounced. Maybe his eye's so swollen that it needs to be able to open up. Like, we have no idea. But the good news is he flew back with the team. And it is, going to be, the timeline is not clear. So once we find out if it's a broken jaw, then we'll have a better idea.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, there's nothing that screams rush this along whatsoever. If there's one thing that we've seen this Bruins team and organization end up having to do very well so far this season is maneuver around the adversity and the many injuries that have tended to pile up. And those opportunities have opened doors for other players so that they can really get a feel for what they have, what does depth look like, and, what does the near future of this team look like regarding any sort of changes that can come down the stretch of an offseason or next season. So these are all, I don't want to say positives because it's not positive to have the injuries, but these are all things that an organization typically doesn't start figuring out till the second half of the season when things get extremely exhausting, and the Bruins are sorting through it now.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how behind the scenes works when it comes to bringing guys back, but like with Hampus Lindholm, we saw the Bruins struggling without him, and it's his choice, the doctor's choice, the team's choice about how much rest he needs, this and that. But if the team's like flying without you, you probably can buy a little bit more time. If not, then maybe the timelines are a little bit reassessed. But so far, the call-ups have all proven to be like, oh, okay, like, this is good. You're filling in nicely. We're not, losing games because we're missing key players. And so that we hope that continues to be the case. The Providence Bruins, 12-2-0 to start the year. Lots of forwards playing very well. I can definitely go over that list, and we will. But, AHL hockey, you've heard every single NHL player that has compared the two say it's a completely different beast. So it's no disrespect to the AHL, but it is a different beast. So we'll see. Just because the numbers are good in the AHL doesn't mean they translate. But when the team is rolling and individual players are rolling, and so far the few call-ups that they have had have been good, you've got to think that there's at least a ease in the call-ups, which are Matej Blumel and Tufte. And Kasey, I'll let you get a word in, but why don't we actually hear from Sturm about the call-ups? Yeah. And we'll talk about what this means for the Bruins.
Marco, what has Riley done this year that's kind of elevated him in Providence, that's helped him get closer to get back to the NHL?
Yeah, no, he's. Last time I looked, he was number one, I think, in general in the AHL. So he did a lot of good things. I remember him when we played against him, in Colorado against the Eagles. So I know what he can bring for the team. So he just deserves the call up, and because he's been, that good this season.
Was Mate pretty close to making it in training camp?
I can't remember training. When was training camp? No, it's just, again, what I remember training camp was there were a lot of opportunities, and I don't know if he was close or not. He just didn't make it. So, but what I remember also, all those guys who went down, Steve's, and the message they got from me is you got to wait for your opportunity, right? And you got to work hard down there, and you got to prove us that you want to be up here, and now's your opportunity. That's how it works.
The message was sent. We know Mate Blumel especially. He was very vocal in training camp about why he chose the Bruins. He felt he was going to have the best chance to be up with the big club. He was sent down to start the season. Don't know exactly how he took that. I'm sure he's going to talk about it before he plays his first game. I'm very excited to see him. Kasey, your thoughts on Tufte and Blumel coming up?
Yeah, you just called for Blumel last week when somebody was asking, are we going to see anyone soon? And you're like, I've been waiting for Blumel. Now, as we get closer to Christmas, a dream come true. And I'd say I'm right there with you. I mean, this is a guy that was kind of anticipated to make that opening night roster, considering the numbers he was putting up in Texas and how they thought it would translate to the NHL a bit quicker. But I will say, even though it's not being vocalized, we've seen and heard from the guys about the intricacies of this new system and the acclimatization, and we saw a different degree of training camp take place for these guys. And in order to function in a hybrid system, there's a huge defensive responsibility. So you've got a lot of skilled players that kind of have to start to evolve those defensive tendencies, and I think that's kind of the degree of separation for Blumel and how he ended up in Providence versus staying up here in Boston, continuing to be able to hone in on how he can be defensively responsible. But what I'm excited about is that he's projected to be back alongside Zacha. We saw that when Zacha punched in back to the center from wing in the beginning of training camp, he was playing with Jeannot and Blumel. So there's a lot of familiarity there, even though they changed up what was going on the left wing. They tried to make it consistent between Zacha and Blumel getting those reps together. So them two living together for a time being, getting the chance to have those reps together in training camp. I'm excited to see how that translates. And then when it comes to Tufte, you're talking about a guy who's a massive body. Me and Trevor were talking about it before the show. Just in case anyone missed it, we're talking about a 6'6", 240 guy entering the lineup. And his first NHL goal was a nice nitty-gritty cleanup goal when he was playing for the Dallas Stars upon his first call-up. So to know that he can fit the DNA in the bill of kind of getting into those dirty areas, considering the players that are no longer going to be in the lineup with the injuries that have accumulated, I feel like it's a really fun starting point for both Tufte and Blumel to see, what they learned in Providence and what can translate to the Bruins.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I actually really don't know, but Arvidsson obviously being out, so Blumel will likely get the spot, like you said, right wing. Yeah. Zacha centering, and Steves is going to stay left wing, or Tufte's going to go left wing? Yeah,
we actually have Scott's tweet here, if we can pull it up, showing the lineups from this morning. You've got Geeky, Husnudinov, Pasta, top line, Steve, Zacha, Blumel, second line, Jeannot, and Kastelik, which we knew we don't want to play with that one. It's been tremendous. And then Tufte, Kuraly, Eyssimont on the fourth line.
Okay, love that. Okay, so Tufte, bigger body on the fourth line. That was hard. Thank you, Scott, for that, but that was hard to read. What the heck?
I know.
Wait, what?
The format's doing weird things. That's not our producers. That's just crazy formatting.
I was like, what is that? What? Okay, so Tufte with the bigger body on the fourth line. Okay, we love that. Yeah. And like you said, don't mess with what's been working very well. But I'm so excited to see how these guys hone in on their opportunities. Really quick, just to give our fans and listeners a rundown of kind of what's been going on in Providence. Like I said, 12-2-0 start. So Georgi Merkulov with 5 goals and 6 assists. So this is in 14 games, of course. I don't have their games played, so I don't know if any of them missed it. But the the Providence Bruins have played 14. Dans Lock Mellis. I think I'm getting close to nailing that 5 goals.
I've still
3
heard it
assists.
5 different ways.
Right? Dans Lock Mellis. Patrick Brown, 6 goals, 10 assists. Fabian Lysell, 6 goals, 6 assists. Matty Patra, 1 goal with 6 assists. Mate Blumel, of course, being called up. So 2 goals and 11 assists. So way more helpers there. And Riley Tufte, 8 goals, 8 assists. Wanted to just dive in on Lysell really quick. So Blumel getting the chance instead. We have, of course, but management has also seen more of a sample size of Lysell up with the big team than they have Mate Blumel. I feel like that's why. I feel like they kind of know what they're getting. And I know, of course, Lysell can progress and change. But in my opinion, that's probably why Blumel has been called up instead. Your thoughts on that? Or do you think he's just been playing better down there?
It could be a combination of things. When I was digging around some of the reports of how the guys were doing down in Providence and some of the matchups, you did see that Lysell went from being trusted on like a top 6 role to being bumped down to the 4th line. Not punishment, but it just seems like it was kind of a lesson learned opportunity for him because it came off of a pretty bad turnover, a number of turnovers that have taken place down in Providence. So Mark, who we had on the show, had the tweet just kind of putting out the timeline there of just like, bad turnover and then ends up on the 4th line. And when you're in that bottom 6 role, you are tasked with being more responsible defensively. And maybe not the best training camp for him, but there was just moments where things got too cute. And we've heard Marco Sturm talk about, not wanting to get too cute with certain things and opportunities. So that could probably be what kind of separates there. And seeing that Blumel is coming in and having strong numbers as a feeder, you're talking about a Zacha who's positioned himself quite well to pick up goals. And you're talking about a Steves that could also do so because we've seen some very tenacious plays out of him. So I'd be excited to see that. And then, of course, you mentioned we'll dive into the Carolina matchup, but whoever's between the pipes, you've seen defense let up a number of shots from that right circle. So if Blumel's coming in on that right circle, has a really good shot, opens up passing lanes, that could probably be another thing that elevated him as well, considering the matchup.
Yeah, no, great point there, especially with your puck possession and puck management. I think that's been said in different ways here in this system, but also systems across the league, that if you can't manage the puck, or not can't, but if you're doing giveaways or a bit sloppy with the puck, not hard on the puck in the AHL, you're going to get blown up in the NHL, and that those tiny mistakes are just that much bigger. And the Bruins can't afford to do that, especially as they are still working out the defensive structure. Like, you can't be giving away breakaway opportunities or turnovers. This is something that maybe that's the focus for Lysell. So good point there with that. Kasey, we have to send it to break, but we did have an awesome game on Saturday. Amazing rivalry, and it lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
The classic rivalries with the Bruins of late, just because of where teams have been. The Florida Panthers have had this surge, so they became a rival, but the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Canadiens, the Senators haven't always lived up to the hype of rivalry because of where they were in the standings. That's different this year with the Montreal Canadiens, and it was so good. So Kasey and I are going to go over that, some of the takeaways from that game, and of course we're going to look ahead to the Carolina Hurricanes a little later. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Hockey Hub. Like we discussed, Saturday was so much fun, and of course capitalized by a Bruins win. I think if they lost, we wouldn't be saying how much fun it was, but it was such a great game, Kasey. I don't know, I'm thinking about last year, but last year was very different for the Bruins. Was this your first true taste, kind of up close and personal, in terms of being in Boston, of the Bruins-Habs rivalry?
Oh, yes. And hearing more about just how extensive and intense this rivalry not only is, but was the hope of it returning, because you put it so perfectly before we went to the break. When you're not sitting in a really pretty position in the standings, the rivalry is still there. The intensity may be a little lackluster. Oh my gosh, everything I was hearing leading up to this, just especially because they were doing that little tango of that number 1 spot, so there was extra fuel to the fire, and then you open up this game with a Zadorov and Struble tilt, and I was just kind of glued. This is part of the reason why my Christmas decor style just kind of went havoc, because I was just constantly having to be pulled back to the screen, but I was really excited to get further educated on just how fun this rivalry is.
Yeah, it is so much fun, and it did finally feel alive and well. I think Zadorov in his post even said something like it's such a big rivalry. Well, it was, because there were a couple years where it's still always hot and we never not make a big deal about it. But when one team is, and the Bruins have been so good at the top of the standings for so long, and Montreal was struggling, it's just different when you're not vying for a playoff spot. But it's going to be real, and depending on how the injuries goes, because Montreal has suffered, and furthermore got more injuries, depending on how health-wise, like if these guys are still battling in March and April for the top spot, like buckle up. I can't wait. I can't wait.
I just have one request.
Yeah.
Can we go to Montreal? I think there needs to be a live Hockey Hub show from Montreal. I feel like we would add really good context to the rivalry. That's just my pitch.
I'm down. We got to get our boss's budget on board, but we can finagle the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, hey bosses. We'll drive. You guys take care of the rest. Yeah,
exactly.
I'll drive. Actually, real talk, really quick. So before I'm trying to think of how old I was. I may have been like early 20s. So I don't know if I even was on TV yet. I started out like most of us grinding behind the scenes, right? Yep. Script writing, highlights, producing, all that kind of stuff. Yes. Everything but. And I don't think I was even on the air, but my girlfriend and I took a road trip from Toronto to Montreal, which is 6 hours only, but like a 6-hour drive to watch a Bruins Habs playoff game. Like I wasn't think about it. I was in the building at the Bell Center. The Bruins won. It was game 1. The Bruins won. I think it was something like 3-2. It was pretty tight. And of course, at the time, I was a Toronto fan, so I didn't like either team. But just for the atmosphere, I wanted the Habs to win because I was like, this is going to be lit. Like we went for the party. We're like, we're going to party so hard when they win. That's why we went, and for the game. But I mean, the atmosphere was unbelievable. I think we were like 3 rows from the back, from like the very last seat. But they say at the Bell Center that you're like, it's really steep. Yeah, and that was so, like when I was walking, I was like, whoa, like especially after a couple of brews, I'm like, gotta stay straight. But it was so fun, such a good atmosphere, and obviously since I've covered some Bell Center games, and they are awesome. So yes, I second your pitch. Let's talk to Josh. Let's talk to Matt.
Yep, that just sold it even harder. Sophia and Kasey need to be on the scene for the next matchup. That's for sure.
We could strike. I mean, like, let's just say we're not doing the podcast unless they send us. What are they going to do? What are you guys going to do?
And we'll just start driving. Where are Kasey and Sophia? Halfway to Montreal.
We're in Montreal. No, let's put it on the list of things we need to ask for. But in the meantime, I guess we'll stay here for now and talk about this game on Saturday. So like you mentioned, Nikita Struble dropped the mitts off the opening whistle. Let's hear from Nikita Zadorov.
I mean, why not? Saturday night in Bell Center, big rivalry. Used to be big rivalry, so maybe it's new again. But just trying to get the boys going and everything.
No history or anything? You guys
no,
sharpen each
no,
other?
Yeah.
Could a game like this kind of reignite that rivalry?
I mean, I haven't been here in the past. Obviously, watching from outside is different, and it's different personnel as well. Like I feel like those two teams hated each other for such a long time, and playoffs, I think, definitely bringing it back. So you never know.
Mickey, what can you say about the PK tonight?
Outstanding. I mean, I thought definitely won us a game. Guys were laying on the ice, everything, blocking shots, putting the faces in the shooting lane and everything. So it's definitely, we take pride of it, and stepped in big today and got us 2 points for sure.
What do you think was particularly working for, especially 5-on-3, 2 long 5-on-3s?
Well, just stay compact, have good sticks through the middle. I mean, we knew they have a bunch of, lot of skill there with those young skilled players, and they're trying to find the seams, they're trying to find the back doors, it was a good teamwork, like I said, just to stay inside and protect the shooting lanes and protect the passing lanes.
Yeah, as our producer Trevor said just now while we were listening, he said, what a great answer. I mean, why not? Kasey, what do you, I mean, I know you love Zadorov anyway, so I'm sure you love that.
So that I was just totally geeked up, no pun intended, for like how often he got mentioned just like in that first period alone. I mean, over the last 3 games, you've seen him come in hot with like a very token takeaway that's led to an offensive opportunity for 1. For 2, he anchored the play where he passed it to Husnudinov gets it off to Pasta. So it's just like he's starting to have this rounded game and leadership that's just hard to look away from. And then a fun part about it too is like has a key role, big momentum leader when it comes to going against another original 16 being the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then same thing, kind of copy and paste and up the ante versus Montreal. So it's just been really cool to see how much more he kind of gets ingrained into the identity of this team and the conversations that he has. Like, I just really like his pressers too. I feel like you just kind of get a little bit more of a window into like how things are vibing in the locker room. But I would say that he was a key component to a successful first period, which is something that the Bruins want to get more consistent at, being tone setters and carrying that over. And that's exactly what they did so well versus Montreal.
Yeah, Nikita Zadorov has definitely, and I'm not going to use, I'm going to use these words, but there are better words. I was going to say grown on me, but I don't like that because I also don't like I hate sports radio when people don't, like, some of the guys hosting never met the players in their lives and they're like, this guy, like they don't
didn't give him a chance. You just needed time to see what was for real. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And also like it's not up to me to like my vote on liking someone or not doesn't matter in my opinion. Like I just hate when people who don't know people are like, oh, this guy's this way or that way. It's like, you don't know me. But like you said, I
you
just
haven't talked to him, and media scrums do not count.
100%. And when I came into the back to the team last year, it was mid-March. My first trip with the team, or my first like instance even covering them, was that West Coast trip where they lost, I think, all the games. Maybe they won 1, or they just went like 0-6 or something, 0-5. It was terrible. And there was a lot of drama, and they were officially like playing themselves out of the playoffs. So no one was happy. Anyway, that's when I was kind of around Nikita. And the team was making a ton of mistakes. And then Nikita was a little bit part of that and was showing frustration. And I was just like, okay, like what is this Bruins team? I don't know. This year, and again, it's not up to him to prove himself to me, but like this year, I'm so impressed. And kind of like you said, like I'm on the Zadorov train. I've loved getting to know him a little bit more. I've had the chance. I agree with you that the scrums are so boring in some instances. Like hockey scrums can be so boring. Like he keeps it interesting. He's honest. There's
you
color.
Can look forward
there's
to what
flair.
he's going to say.
Yeah,
which is rare sometimes.
Listen.
Yeah. Because you just get so much of the hockey vocabulary, which I get it. You know, you're exhausted. You got to get to the point sometimes. But to paint more of a picture, like I feel like we get a little bit more of a picture behind Zadorov and like can translate it to the game better.
Totally. And like I have heard many hockey scrums in the day where I'm like, wait, what was said? Because it is so cliche, and obviously no offense to those guys either, because some of the questions are super cliche. But Zadorov, you want to listen, you want to pause, you want to hear what he has to say. Sometimes you're like, ooh, sometimes you laugh. Like it is a ride, and I like it. And then most importantly, because again, he doesn't care what we think about him as a person, but his play on the ice has been a difference maker almost night in and night out. And that's not easy to say for a lot of players. And unless you're like an elite goal scorer, like someone like Pasta or a goaltender, you don't always get difference makers that are that obvious. And he's been one. And I'm hoping the fans are all on the same page being like, we love this guy on our team.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some tweets. A number of people's minds are changing, so I'm excited for that. And not just because, like, I've been excited about him. I had a little bit of an upper hand knowing some of his play before he even got to Boston, so it's not like I had any sort of extra insider ties to it all. But I couldn't agree more. I feel like he's been a difference maker in a number of ways. And you just kind of saw the great conversations that came about when him and McAvoy got paired together, and just kind of the dependability, the accountability, you're seeing that play out very well, and how he can jump in on plays. I mean, during the muck that was the end of the Bruins season last year, he was one of their like leading rushers, for crying out loud. So like, big guy can get in on the play. He just has some different variety that he can kind of dish out for this roster, and it's just been cool to see game by game. And I'm sure Swayman or even Korpisalo is loving the accountability in front of them, because that's switched up quite a bit over the past couple of games as well. To give Swayman so much credit for some of the moments that he was under siege and just looks like a different guy. Like, you wanted this for him, and now we can celebrate it. And it's not too early to celebrate. I celebrate everything.
No, I agree. You got to celebrate the little wins and the big wins. But yeah, the Swayman that you saw last year when you kind of came to Boston was not the Swayman that, signed for that massive contract. It was based on how he was in the years before. And he's back to form and probably even better. I don't have a good goalie eye like Razor can tell you that, handling the puck, controlling rebounds. There was one glove save. Is it near the end of a period or near the end of the third? I can't remember. By the way, my brain, like as soon as the game's done, I'm like, flush. I flush it. I'm like, on to the next. Like that's how my brain works.
You gotta decompress. You have to be able to decompress. And you can't decompress with all the things still very much on the brain, so.
Yeah. I got to get rid of that so I can make room for the next one. But anyway, I know it was close to the third, I think the end of the third, where he made a glove save and he elected for grabbing it and controlling that rebound and then having a face-off instead of letting that rebound go and then, scramble in front of the net. I would need someone like Razor or a goalie to be like, what differences do we see in the little technicalities? But he is back to his confident, cool, collected, doesn't get too rattled when a couple of goals go in self. And that's also been a difference maker for the Bees. So it's been good to watch.
Yeah, I think during one of Razor's reports, I remember hearing him kind of repetitively mention just how simple Swayman was playing. So I'm guessing that to a degree, they were waiting for him to just get back to being simple, not doing too much, not coming out of the net too far and stuff. But I would love to hear what Razor has to say about it, because you can just kind of see a different way and air and confidence to him, which is exactly what you need for your guy who's going to be between the pipes. But he just had a number of really, really fun saves. And the hardest one being letting Cole Caulfield get one on you. But in things to consider, you don't have to be a high shot volume person to be effective. And Cole Caulfield is one of the most efficient shooters out there. So 13 collecting 13 did not surprise me, but it was hard to watch. It was definitely hard to watch.
Well, I can't wait for your things to consider about the Carolina Hurricanes. We do want to send it to break soon, but I really, Trevor, talking to my producer here, I really hope you guys don't mind us playing Marco Sturm's press conference, his interview with Brick. Let's play that for you, and then we'll send it to break.
Marco, coming off what we'll call a frustrating game in Ottawa in terms of result, you come into Montreal, it's Bell Center Saturday night, Bruins, Canadians for first place overall. How did you like the way, in the division, how did you like the way your team performed tonight?
No, it was a great team win today. I started off exactly, I don't know. I felt like I'm at the Four Nations there for a bit, but no, just guys came ready. They had really good fights there right away off the hop, got us going. Sway was outstanding, PK. It was just overall, it was just a good team win here in Montreal.
Yeah, the PK was instrumental tonight. I mean, not too often teams get a minute 30, a minute 50, a 5-on-3. What was working so well in the PK?
No, we spent a little bit more time yesterday just talking through it. I think we were just in between a lot, and I think guys didn't really think about going in today. They just kind of go with it and kind of read off each other. I think that was the key. And also, Sway, right? The goalie always has to be the best killer out there.
And lastly, you started the night with just two right-shot defensemen, and that's fine. But then you lose Charlie McAvoy halfway through the hockey game. What adjustments have to happen at that point?
Yeah, no, but we trust our D. We have a few guys. Aspie, he played the right before, so. I think, everyone loves the challenge, and I think our 5Ts did a great job today. It doesn't matter where they're at. They were ready to go, and they had all our support, that's for sure.
Nice bounce-back win. Congratulations. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you. We mentioned it a little bit this morning. It's going to take all of us. That's all it is. I'm gonna put it in Yogi's, Mason's hands because Charlie's out. It's going to take all of us. We are forwards. We got to take care of our D. So special teams, we got to be better, stay out of the box. So we just have to find ways to go through stretches like that.
All right, welcome back. Once again, the Bruins playing the Carolina Hurricanes. A quick one-game road trip at TD Garden. They've had a couple of these. They're on the road. Then they come home for just one. And then they have a big West Coast swing. Well, 3 games, but late nights. And we'll obviously talk a little bit more about that. But we're going to start with the Carolina Hurricanes, Kasey. Updates in case you guys are just joining us. Charlie McAvoy out. Victor Arvidsson out. And of course, Lindholm and Mittelstadt still out. Blumel and Riley Tufte called up from Providence to help fill roles. So, Kasey, I know you love your Consider This. Don't know if you've done your full notes, but maybe give us a little preview of what's going to be challenging against the Carolina Hurricanes. I know they have a very suffocating forecheck, their speed, the way they play in the neutral zone. What do the Bruins have to do to continue this 2 mini-game win streak?
Apply everything you just said, but make sure that they can control the pace yet again, because this is a team that very much makes sure that they impose their will on their opponents by using that speed and by getting ahead. The first period usually kind of dependent on the sweet spot for this team, but then it's the fact that they're 5-on-5. That's very heavily where they pick up their scoring, and one of their favorite ways to score is rebounds. They were one of the top 2 teams in the NHL over the course of the last 2 weeks for picking up rebound goals, and a big body like Svechnikov is top of the charts for making sure something like that takes place. But then you also have Seth Jarvis, who's very lethal when it comes to 5-on-5. Nicolas Ehlers still kind of trying to find his game there. They had a number of line changes over the past couple of weeks, and he ends up getting bumped down to the right wing for the Carolina Hurricanes. So while they're still playing with some pieces here, I feel like everything that the Bruins have grown within their game is going to make this a different kind of matchup for this team. We've seen them be able to have better first periods. We've seen them not rely on special teams, but be very effective on special teams and be able to capitalize on power play opportunities. So with Carolina still trying to figure out and get their defense in better positioning, I feel like the Bruins just need to very much come in and force their game from the beginning and stick to their structure throughout. So it's the 5-on-5 control, it's managing the rebounds, and it's the unblocked shots that land on goalies. It's very irritating when playing Carolina. A number of their shots go unblocked, so a lot of sacrifice comes into play, but you got a guy named Andrew Peeke in the mix, and he's sitting top 3 when it comes to block shots, making sure that he denies opponents that sweet spot.
Man, block shots, it's so, like, that's such a important stat to, like, zero in on, especially matchup dependent. But, you know, we just saw Charlie McAvoy and what happened to him, and I know that wasn't exactly, there was like a deflection, but like you're standing in front of the net, you're going to get your body in there. If you really, when you really think about it, and players have been doing this forever, like that is, those guys that lay their bodies out every time, like
not easy.
No, girl, I took a deflection. I was wearing heels, and like, so meaning that I had very little padding, and I don't know why. I'm never wearing heels to a rink again for practice. I don't know what I was doing, but anyway, I was wearing heels and I took a deflection. It like bounced, obviously chipped off the top of the glass, so it like deflected and completely slowed down, but like trickled down the glass. I was standing at the glass and hit my toe, and I was like limping for a week, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, it just hit my toe. That's all it did. Like, imagine.
Like the innocent bystander pain that comes from a puck. Imagine like intentionally being like, I'm going to get in this lane and just take this one. This is why you figure out who can and cannot play.
And full speed and slap shots, and like the equipment's gotten better, but like, listen, there's some gaps where players, and then they breathe on the bench and they go right back out for the next shift. Anyway, I digress, but great preview there. I don't know if you can answer this, and like we can have a bit of a debate of it. What the hell am I trying to say? Debate on it. But Carolina does play a specific style of hockey, and 2-1-2 often as they're getting through the neutral zone and in their offensive zone. But why they play this certain suffocating way, and this is more of like a rhetorical question. I always wonder, there was a long time ago where the Devils played a 1-3-1, and I just like, why don't and it's so hard to play against. Why doesn't every team do it? But it's so interesting how different teams have different styles, and I guess it would be talent related. But have you ever really figured out like why some teams will play a way that's sort of play against, but other teams don't?
Yeah, it's definitely your reliable talent. Because, for instance, like Bruins, one of the top neutral zone teams right now. If they're not still at number 1, then they're at number 2. But I think they're still top of the league for neutral zone efficiency. A lot of that comes into play because you have a dependable third line in Janot, Mitten, and Kastelik. They're also sitting top 15 in the NHL when it comes to their starts in the neutral zone. So as soon as they go out there, they're commanding that space. We've seen Fraser Mitten have some big plays in the neutral zone. We've seen Tanner Janot have some key key passes to help assist with breakouts out of the neutral zone. So it's just like talent dependent for sure, and the skill set, because being able to be responsible, I know I say that a lot, but especially for this system, for this Bruins team, defensive responsibility is so crucial. You heard Mitten say that he's got to be defensively responsible before he gets in offensively. So that identity helps tremendously, because I know that was a thing a couple years ago when teams were trying to figure out, if they wanted to stray away from a zone defense and become hybrid, or a lot of teams hate playing man-on-man because of the mismatches that it creates. So having the right skill set, having the right players to be able to command the neutral zone is very much probably what comes into play, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, great point there. And like you said, it is hard hockey. It is skill dependent. It is talent dependent, and what you have on all four lines, not just like the top six and what they can bring, right? Because you're not getting half the team to play one way and then the other half another way. Like that would be way too confusing when you're rolling out and matching lines. Is there anything else you want to say about this matchup, or we can get our quick thoughts on this West Coast trip coming up?
We touched on it a little bit earlier, but I feel like this is a fun spot for a Blumel and a Tufte to get into the mix, because you mentioned when we first started this preview how well Carolina is with forechecking, and the Bruins, that's a huge part of their identity as well. And there's been times where we've joked around about be the better forechecking team. This is going to have to come into play, and Blumel actually has had notable forechecking plays. And I mentioned the fact that regardless of who's between the pipes for Carolina, Blumel being in the mix, hopefully on that right wing, can assert himself, can make a statement for kind of how he can help out this Bruins team. And it doesn't have to come from scoring. It can come from setting up those passes that he's been doing so well down in Providence. And then same thing when it comes to Tufte, because the low slot space and room that this Carolina team has given up in front of both of their goaltenders has very much allowed their opponents to either sneak in wins or force overtime opportunities. So Tufte being a big body, they can clean up rebounds. Janot, they can clean up rebounds. Zaka, they can clean up rebounds. You got a number of guys that can kind of fit the bill there to make sure that they try to give the Bruins the upper hand. So I feel like this is a good call-up spot for a Tufte and for a Blumel. And mismatches, because Carolina plays man-on-man, which I freaking hate also, and that creates chances for speedy players. So Blumel and Husnudinov with a bigger role now, being on that top line, we'll see how he can utilize his speed and skill set and the confidence he keeps growing game by game.
Okay, I love that. And I just want to throw in really quick that we may see Brandon Bussey in net for the Carolina Hurricanes. Frederick Anderson started for the Canes in the last game, so we'll see. But Brandon Bussey, of course, with the Providence Bruins earlier, but he was picked up. So we might see Brandon Bussey in net, and that's just a cute little side note. Really quick, we have a couple minutes to preview this West Coast road trip. I don't know if you want to get technical, feel free, but I know just vibes-wise, what are you looking forward most to? Is it seeing Macklin Celebrini? Is this rematch with the Ducks, which was a really high-scoring game? What are you looking forward to?
It's going to start with the rematch with the Ducks. Just the way that game played out has to leave a bad taste in your mouth. You got the Bruins opening the scoring. They go toe-to-toe back and forth for a minute. Ducks take the lead in the second period and just kind of command control from there on out. I just feel like they're a different team now. You're seeing a better structure, and I know that could come into question depending on what takes place with McAvoy, but still, I feel like every guy has stepped up. The buy-in that we've all talked about so much has developed tremendously over the course of the last couple of weeks. So I feel like this is a nice little revenge spot, and they took the revenge seriously versus the Senators. I think that they can capitalize on that versus the Ducks. They just have to be mindful of their two lethal young guys, Leo Carlsson and, of course, Cutter Gauthier. But this is one of those teams that you got to be the better forechecker in the mix of all of it, and I think they had a good command. They just kind of lost the reins there as the game went on. The Kings is going to be the best test. For the Bruins to identify as, piss and vinegar and all the things that we talked about heading into this season, the Kings have not struggled with their defensive capability and identity whatsoever. And you're talking about top six players that are really good on the forecheck, especially Adrian Kempe, who just got a fat new contract that's very well deserved. But Quentin Byfield is tremendous. Harvard alumni Alex Lafreniere is really good with forechecking, really good with sharp angle passes and shots on goal. So they're going to have a massive test in terms of having zero gaps and making sure there's no breathing room versus this Kings team that's going to make a lot of big defensive plays.
Okay, I love it. And I agree the matchup that I'm really looking forward to is just this rematch, 7-5. That was back and forth. That was so fun. And with LA, the last time they were there, it was when Swayman and Darcy Kemper were going to maybe fight center ice. That's not going to happen again. That is not going to happen again.
But it's always in the back of the mind.
Yeah.
And we've seen
Yes.
Swayman puffing his chest a couple times when things have gone on in front of him. So who knows?
Who knows exactly? And that was a different state, different team. I think what Sway was trying to do was he just trying to motivate, his team. Like I said, they were dying, like losing points like quicksand and just holding on for their playoff hopes. But it was not meant to be. The recipe was not there. Things were not in place. But that was interesting. Of course, that was in LA. So we'll see if anyone remembers that, if he even gets the start, if it's going to be Korpisalo. And we'll see if anybody remembers that. But I'm looking forward to all of these games except what time I have to be up until, except that part.
You'll be going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and have a bunch of stuff to do the next day. So
yeah. The
team
slippers
no
will be on. The slippers will be on.
Keep all cameras
okay, guys.
desk level.
We are going to, Kasey and I are going to send it to break. We've got a little tape to tape where we're going to go over some of the big storylines around the league revolving hockey. So we'll be right back with that to end the show. Welcome back to the Hockey Hub. Sophia and Kasey here with you. We just kind of got you set up for this preview, this matchup against the Carolina Hurricanes. That goes at 7 at TD Garden, 6 for pregame on NESN, so tune into that. But we're going to end the show with something we call Tape to Tape, where we have storylines from around the league that we like to discuss, kind of the ones that have made splashes. Injuries plaguing a lot of teams. This one's a weird one. Devils star Jack Hughes is going to miss up to 8 weeks due to an accidental cut with a knife at a team dinner. That sounds really scary. He had surgery on his finger. As we know, the finger in most sports is very, very important, especially when it's in a glove and it's trying to stick handle. So even though it's just a finger, you can't really play through that. We can take this in a lot of different directions. Weird freak accident, obviously, or just like how many injuries and how many teams are getting plagued. What was your thought when you read this?
My first honest thought was like, we need to put candles in a prayer circle around Jack Hughes, because if I hear of a first half season injury about this kid one more time, I feel so bad for him. Out last year, and it's always when the Devils are starting to like get hot, and then all of a sudden Jack Hughes is out of the lineup, and it's been the testimony for the past at least 3 seasons. So that was my first thought. Second was just like, why didn't we say stitches? So I worked myself up to be like, did Jack Hughes lose a finger? I got a little dramatic there for a second. But for the team to be a little bit more calm on everything, I'm guessing it's just what you said. It's a freak accident. It's unfortunate that it's Jack Hughes yet again. The first game for the Devils after this situation took place, though, you saw Bratt go down and Luke Hughes just kind of mouth like, for puck's sake. We know the proper rated version of that, but you can just tell that like, teammates are just tired of guys going down, and it's just frustrating. You can't really get a groove when you're losing bodies.
No, and obviously this injury was not, like with Victor Arvidsson, with how he slowed up when he was going for that icing, like that could have been, we could say maybe it's the lack of rest, maybe that one's like the condensed schedule, like that's very real. The guys just don't have a chance to rest. A little nagging injuries will come up. With Jack Hughes, like cutting yourself at a party, that has nothing to do with the condensed schedule. I'm very down to look up some spells online and do a little witch ceremony for Jack Hughes if you want.
We
can do
a
a
candle
little
ceremony.
We can do a little like, hey, like let's get the curse off.
We need something.
I'll work on that. I'm down. I'm like, the older I get, the more into weird stuff I am. I'll look up some spells. Okay, how about that?
Yeah, we'll have our Stevie Nicks moment, but we're just trying to protect Jack Hughes, so at least it's important.
Yeah, exactly. We just want him to be okay. But like you said, poor kid. And obviously missing that much time, ligaments around the wrists and blood and all that, I don't want to get into it. Could be very scary. So I'm glad he's okay. Weird freak accident. Let's see, where else do we want to take it? I really liked, we have Brad Marchand, anything involving Brad Marchand I like, but Emily Benjamin, who writes for NHL.com, covers a lot of different teams, but mostly with the Boston Bruins. She had a great article talking about how Brad opened up about the anxiety of slowing down as he got older, and hell, he hasn't. Like, what the heck? Like, what is he worried about? But
seriously,
I can tell you firsthand that that man works harder than almost anyone. And like, I've been lucky with Chara and Bergeron, and we know Sidney Crosby's up there and Ovi, but like works harder than almost anyone. So it's because of his work that he hasn't, but he said it was like crippling anxiety, like thinking about that. And I guess I guess if, to retire at 35, 37, 40, that's so young. Like, imagine if all this work you put into your career now with being on air, imagine if you only had until like 38, 39, so 5, 6, 7 more years. That would be so scary to think about,
Yeah, I'd be sick over it, especially just because, I think mentally we all work to not compare ourselves to situations, but the day and age we live in and social media being what it is, comparison is front of the mind constantly. And when you're hearing the conversations we're having about a Sidney Crosby not slowing down, an Ovechkin not slowing down, and all of these guys who can very much play up until the top of their 40s or well into their 40s, you almost move the line of standard for yourself. And I feel like any athlete, and you can probably attest to this too with your experience in the field, they don't like when the decision is made for them. They only find peace when they decide to hang up the skates. And when they don't make that decision for themselves, look at Jágr and some of these other guys that went and played in Europe because they just were not ready. That not ready feeling could be the extra layer of crippling on top of all of these guys playing until they're 40 and past 40 and stuff. So for our prime, I don't want to hang it up at 37. I wouldn't feel good about it.
No, exactly. Especially it's not like you started your career putting the work in at 30. You've been doing it forever. So that's what these athletes feel. I want to give you enough time to talk face-offs. There's only a minute left. Trevor saying, sorry, Kasey, that's my bad.
All right. Bruins are just doing good things in the face-off circle, and we're so proud of our guys for continuing to remain successful in the absence of Elias Lindholm, who was a face-off killer. Kastelik, Fraser Mitten, these guys are sitting well over 51% and helping contribute to the success, and face-offs have helped this Bruins team pull off puck possession success as well as winning success. So we just wanted to give a shout-out to the guys.
Okay, that is awesome. As you guys can see on your screen, 10 of the Bruins' 12 wins have come when the Bruins have won at least 50% of the faceoffs. Okay, we'll be back Friday. Bruins at 7, pregame at 6, guys. We'll see you then. Enjoy the rest of your week.